Okay, we are live on Instagram. It looks like, guys, welcome. If you're hanging out with me on Instagram and if you're hanging out with me on YouTube, welcome to the Think Big podcast. Let me just get us live on the Instagram as well. Actually, it looks like Instagram hasn't gone live yet. Guys, if you're tuning in, I'm excited for tonight's episode because tonight I'm talking about the 6 habits that I use to get me from being broke, living at home with my mom, to doing my first $1 million year. And this is something that I love teaching, I love talking about because it has changed everything for me. So I love seeing y'all in the comments. What's up, Deborah? What's up, Lily? We're gonna be jumping into it tonight. But before we get started, if you know that you need to have a friend in here, if you know somebody needs to be watching this tonight, get them on here because what during the lives, you guys are able to ask your questions. You're able to throw things up in the comments. I'm going to bring you guys up here. What's up, Lisa? Good to see you. All right, good to see you, Lisa. Good to see you, Deborah. And so, if you know someone needs to be here live and they're not here, send this link out to them, send this YouTube out to them, get them on here right now. And if you guys are on Instagram watching, come over to the YouTube channel. And if it's your first time joining in with me, what's up? My name is Marlon. And, the reason I'm talking about this is because it was only a few years ago. It was back in 2019 that I found myself in the same situation most people find themselves in, which is I was feeling stuck. I was looking at my life and thinking about what I wanted to do, the sort of home I wanted to live in, the sort of area I wanted to travel to. And I was realizing that what I was doing wasn't working, wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be ultimately. And I don't know if anyone else has ever felt like that, where you look in the mirror and you kind of look at yourself and you're thinking, like, I should be further along in my life than where I'm at right now. That's how I felt when I was, about 26 years old. I'm just standing there thinking and reflecting on my life. Like I should be further along by now. But where was I? I'm living at home with my mom and my sister. I'm barely making $25,000 a year. I was still in college, and I'm like in my mind thinking, I'm going to go to grad school and become a physical therapist. I'm just going to go get a doctorate. And, if I did that, then I would have it. Right. And one day I did this kind of mental thought experiment because I just want to frame this up for you guys. I did this mental thought experiment where it was a Friday night, and I used to work in this catering hall. It's called the Elks Lodge. It's a restaurant. And after doing the catering service and like cleaning the kitchen, I would stay after on the weekend nights, Friday and Saturdays, to make a little extra cash doing the janitorial work. And so there's this Friday night, I'm there. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm mopping the floors like I've done a million times. And I have this moment where I look into the kitchen. So I'm standing in the bar and I look into the kitchen and I can see the same silver table that I've cleaned so many times, the pots that are hanging, the floor I just finished mopping. And I throw the mop down on the floor. Like I'm pissed off. Like just so much anger filled me in that moment because as I'm looking at that kitchen, I'm thinking to myself, I have cleaned that exact same kitchen. I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands of times at this point, because I've been working there since I was 13 years old. I was in my 20s. I'm like, I've been here for over a decade doing the exact same thing. And in that moment, I closed my eyes, right? So I'm standing there in the bar with my eyes closed. And I didn't mean to do this. This happened just very organically. I close my eyes and I start to see this like future scenario. I see an 80-year-old version of Marlon, and he's sitting on a rocking chair. He's in the front porch and he's just rocking back and forth. And I walk over to him and I start having a conversation with him. This is all in my head. I'm having a conversation with this older Marlon. And I ask him, I'm like, dude, how was our life? How did it go? And he says, yeah, we did it. We got the doctorates in physical therapy. We got the home. We got the white picket fence. We got the kids. We married the woman. And as he's explaining everything to me, there's just like this heaviness to him, right? Like he's talking about it. He's like, yeah, like we have the 2 kids. This is our house. We even got that stupid little dog that barks a little bit too much for your liking, but you can't get rid of the dog because the kids are grown attached to it. And he just feels heavy. And so I asked him, like, why do you feel so heavy? I mean, it sounds like you had a great life. It sounds like you did all the things, you accomplished all the things. And he just looked at me and he said, I wish I would have. Wish you would have what? I wish I would have gone for it. Gone for what? Gone for it. Gone for anything. Actually tried. I wish I would have gone for it. I wish I would have gone for it. And he just kept repeating this over and over and over again. Like, I wish I would have gone for it. And what's crazy is it shocked me. And I came back to the present moment, and there I was. I'm still standing in the Elks Lodge. I'm still standing at the bar. The mop is still on the floor. The floor is still wet. And I just have this realization that no matter what I do in my life, I do not want to end up as that man, because all I could feel from him was that regret of him wishing he would have gone for it, gone for and just tried, just made the most. See, because at that time in my life, what I was doing was I was coasting, guys. I was right. For me, grad school, for me, school came easy. I was a straight A student. I'm not that entrepreneur that's going to tell you I was bad at school. As far as an academic, I was a good academic, right? A's, with the exception of a foreign language. Pretty much, if you were speaking English, I can follow your train of thought and regurgitate information back to you. And so for me, school didn't present that level of challenge. And I knew how to follow A to B, B to C, C to D, and it would effectively get me to that point of grad school and get me my degree and get me the job. And I knew how to show up and be a good employee and the people please and the kiss butt. And I knew how to play it safe. And I realized playing it safe for the next 60, 70, 80 years just simply gets me safely to death, right? And I'm going to be this man on my deathbed with regrets. And so in that moment, standing there in the Elks Lodge, I quit my job right then and there. Now, obviously, nobody was in the building with me at 1 a.m., so I had to come back the next day and quit for real. But I made up my mind that I was going to do something more with my life, that I was going to go after it. And I was okay losing. I was okay. Like, I didn't even need to win, but I was not okay with not having tried. I was not okay with arriving to the end of my life, holding all of my attempts safely in my hand, having never used any of them. Not for me. And I'm assuming you're probably the same. And so I jumped into the world of entrepreneurship. I started trying everything. And guys, I didn't land on real estate first. That's a whole story for a whole nother day. I tried a lot of different things. But eventually, when I did come into the world of real estate, I found myself that I'd made a decision. I'd made a commitment on, ultimately, hey, we're going to go and do this. We're going to make it work. But I struggled in the beginning to get any real traction, to produce any results. And I work now with thousands of other entrepreneurs. I mean, some of you guys are in the communities where I get to come in, right? I'm in sub 2. I get to coach inside of there. Some of you are part of my personal private coaching, right? Gerald, I saw you inside here earlier, right? Victor, I've seen you. Alexis, you guys have come and you've worked with me in small group session or one-on-one. And so I've been able to guide entrepreneurs who are just starting and entrepreneurs who are already doing 6 and 7 figures in their business. And what's so interesting, what's so fascinating is you start to see patterns. You start to see the same things over and over and over about what causes success and what causes failure, what causes people. And when I say failure, I'm not talking about making mistakes. I'm talking about people throwing in the towel, giving up, walking away, and never achieving their goal, never getting to the finish line that they set out for. To me, that's failure, is when you give up, is when you let go of your dream and you decide that you are going to arrive to your deathbed with regrets. To me, that is failure. Everything else is your learning lessons. And so I started to look at the patterns between what was working for them and also, quite frankly, what had worked for me, because I now teach other entrepreneurs how to reproduce results and get results in their life. Because your results, and I want y'all to write this down. If you're a note taker, write this down. Your results and your income will never exceed your level of personal development. In fact, put that in the chat. I want you guys to comment that in the chat on YouTube, because I want to put it up on the screen. Your results, your income will never exceed your level of personal development. You are the goose that lays the golden egg. You are your number one investment. You're the core common denominator between everything that you've ever done, the success you've had, the failures, everything. You're at the center of it all. Therefore, doesn't it make sense that if I want to improve my life, that I first should improve myself. If I want to improve the results I'm getting, if I want to improve the amount of money I'm making, if I want to improve my ability as a leader, that first I need to improve me. Right? Shout out to Lily. I love Lily was the first one to get this up on the screen for me. Thank you, Lily. Lily wrote your results. Your income will never, capital never exceed your level of personal development. So appreciate you, Lindsay. Appreciate you, Adam. Appreciate you, Melissa. Appreciate you, Savant. And so I started to understand this, that inside I needed to work on myself. And so I've been studying personal development. I've been reading every book from Tony Robbins. I've gone to different seminars. I've watched different programs. I've spent over a decade working on myself in personal development. However, when I stepped into the realm of entrepreneurship, that was a whole nother level up that I had to acquire. And so years ago, I went and I hired myself a high performance coach. And what was cool for me is she was actually a part of that. Also a whole nother story for another day. But my high performance coach, she was also another real estate investor. So not only was she good about extracting results from people, she was also in the world doing the things I wanted to be doing. She had already produced the results. She and her husband had already flipped multiple properties, bought rental homes, had done international investing, were now traveling the world, going on vacations when they felt like they lived in their dream home. And so I said, you know what? That's the woman I want to learn from. She had inspired me. So she's the one I want to learn from, because she started to talk to me about being able to produce results and what was necessary. And she started to say things that I knew from the books. So I knew we were in the same, we understood the same fundamental truths. She said, Marlon, if you want to produce new results, you're right now, you're looking for this like how this tactical how, like just show me how to do the thing and you'll get the result. But she's like, Marlon, you already know how to do the thing. Because this was after I had already paid for real estate courses, right? After I had gotten the information, I had the tactical how. I knew how to cold call. I knew how to get a dialer. I knew how to get data. I knew how to comp properties. I knew how to send out a contract. I had the tactical hows. But she said, the problem isn't you not knowing how to do things. The problem is you don't believe you're the type of person that these things are going to work for. The problem is your self-identity is still caught up in your old mistruths. You still believe the old truth about yourself that you're not capable of producing. You're not like intern. And it was so funny that she was able to call me out on that pretty quickly. Because it's something I get to call my clients out on now, where people will say externally, I was saying, this is what I want. I want to be a millionaire. I want to travel the world. I want to do this. She said, but internally, the conversation you're having with yourself, it's a little bit different. The way you view yourself internally is different than the way you're portraying to the world that you see yourself on the external. And she was so spot on. Like I miss working with her because she would call me on my ish so quickly. And she said, look, until your inner world changed, until your inner, what we call your inner self-image, until that shifts, your results are going to be locked into the old life. You want new results, you need a new self-image. And she said, here's the way you start to shift your self-image, right? Like we broke it down. And I want y'all to follow me with this thought process for a second. Write this down. If you're a note taker, and real quick, guys, on my screen, I'm looking like I'm glitching a little. Let me know in the chat. Is it glitching or we have smooth? We got smooth streaming. I'm happy, but I hope we don't have any glitching. At least even if I'm glitching audio visually, as long as the audio is coming through clearly. Okay. Now I love it. Lily is such a good note taker. Holy moly, Lily. Phenomenal note taker. All right. Check this out. I just said your self-image is directly connected to the results that you're producing in your life. That's what she taught me. So how does your self-image, there we go. Lindsay said it's crispy. Melissa says it's good. Your self-image is directly connected to your results. So what forms your self-image? Well, your self-image, check this out, is made up of your beliefs. What do you believe internally, whether anyone else believes it to be true or not? Well, what are your beliefs? Where do your beliefs come from? Your beliefs get formed as a result of your behaviors. The things that you expect to occur, that you do over and over and over and over again, the way you expect yourself to act. And where do your behaviors form? Where do your behaviors come from? Your behaviors come as a result of your habits, the things at one point you had to consciously think about doing, and you repeated them consciously so many times to the point that you no longer need the same level of conscious thought, effort, and energy to take that action. And now it becomes something that it's hard to get rid of because you've just repeated it so many times. So if you followed that train of thinking, your habits create your behaviors create your beliefs create your self-image creates your results. And this is why I talk about habits and building proper habits. In fact, some of you are doing the Relentless Results Challenge with me right now, where that whole challenge, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. If you're doing the Relentless Results Challenge, it's not about getting healthier. It's not about like getting into better workout shape, because there's physical aspects about you working out each day, about you reading a book. It literally is about teaching you how to follow through on what you said you were going to do for a long enough period of time so that you can create habits. It's literally just teaching you the fundamental for how do you create a habit. To be able to create a habit, you have to be able to simply commit to, stick with a commitment for a long enough period of time, for a long enough duration, to do enough volume of something over and over and over until it no longer requires that same momentum, that same conscious effort and energy. That's why I have you guys do the Relentless Results Challenge, is so that I can teach you how to learn for yourself. I can teach you how to create new habits. You can have whatever habit you want. Most people have habits. We all have habits. It's just a matter of, are your habits serving you? And so when I started working with her, what she started to introduce me to was this concept, right? And this is what helped me go from like, I'm not producing any results, to I was able to build my $1 million business. I was able to go in 2024 was a total bucket list year for me. Got to run across America with my best friends. We raised $111,000 to fight human trafficking. I got to road trip for 2.5 months in my RV again with my best friends. I got to learn and get certified as a solo skydiver. I got to meet some amazing people. I mean, the people that I'm now friends with, it blows my mind sometimes. Even this past month, I was traveling Asia, right? Living the digital nomad lifestyle. So it's safe to say I figured out for myself how to create the results that I want. And it came directly from what she taught me, which is what I'm about to teach you guys right now. So I want you paying attention. I want you writing notes. I want you locked in as if you paid me $20, $30, $40,000 to be here. People pay me tens of thousands of dollars to literally teach you what I'm about to share on YouTube for free right now. Lock in. She started to teach me that there are 6 primary habits that when you look at successful people across all industries, across all spaces, whether we're talking in the real estate space and we're talking about the Pace Morbies and the Grant Cardones and the Jamil Damjis and the whoever, right? The Dean Graziosis, whether you're talking about athletes, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, whether you're talking high-level entrepreneurs, the Elon Musk, you're talking world leaders, the Donald Trumps, the Barack Obamas, the Oprah Winfreys. It literally doesn't matter who I say. If you're talking about a person of noteworthy success, you're going to notice that they have these 6 habits in common. And so we're going to go through these 6 habits, and I'm going to break each one down. So habit number 1 is the habit of seeking clarity. Listen to my words for a minute. The habit of seeking clarity. When I say the habit of seeking clarity, I want you to ask yourself, how often, how common do you perform something that is habitual? Do you do habits once a quarter, once a year, once a month, once a week? No, typically your habits are something that you perform regularly, if not multiple times per day. If you have the habit of brushing your teeth, if you have the habit of tying your shoes, if you have the habit of whatever, it's something that you perform regularly, multiple times per day. So when I say the habit of seeking clarity, Lindsay, I'm not saying that people don't know how to seek clarity. Everybody on the planet knows how to seek out clarity. In fact, we all do it on the same time every year all together. New Year's resolutions. Literally, January 1st, every last person on planet Earth seeks out clarity altogether. So knowing how to seek clarity is not the problem. Is it a habit? Is it something we're doing regularly? Because what happens by the time we get to January 14th, January 19th, January 23rd, right? Think about all the people, I'm going to get in shape this year. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. Where are they the 3rd week of January? The gym is back to the usual numbers. Where are all the people who said they were going to make the calls, who said they were going to show up? What happens is they lose sight of the vision. They lose sight of where they're going. And being able to have clarity is the ability to envision your future strategically and consistently so that you know where you're going. A good leader, a good leader has the ability to communicate regularly over and over and over a clear vision of where we're going. And that vision that they communicate is directionally in alignment every single time. They're not taking you here one day and then here another day, then here another day. No, they're able to keep us all on track. They're able to get ultimately multiple people rowing in the same direction. But before you can get multiple people rowing in the same direction, you need to get yourself walking in that direction. You will never find a person of success who has not developed the habit of seeking and generating clarity in their life regularly, multiple times per day. This is critical. I would argue that this is the most important habit to start with, that everything will start and stop with clarity. In fact, I made a post yesterday, and I was talking about one of my clients that I work with, a guy named Maj. Maj is out of Colorado. And when Maj started working with me, this was super interesting. And you guys tell me if you can relate to this. I met him through a real estate community. He and I were in the same real estate community, and he reached out to me for some coaching, for some help. And he was running two businesses. He had a wholesale operation. Really, it was almost three businesses, but we were able to kill off the first one pretty quickly. But he was running multiple businesses. He was trying to wholesale properties. He was also trying to buy creative properties for his portfolio. And he had an existing cleaning company where they would go and like they were corporate cleaners. Like they would clean houses, but then they also had gigs cleaning like corporate buildings. And so he was constantly like week after week. I'm like, all right, Maj, what are we focused on? What are we doing? And, 1 week he's talking to me about the cleaning business. The next week he's talking to me about the wholesale business. Some weeks he's trying to talk to me about both. And I would keep giving him the same advice, right? I would keep breaking into his head like, Maj, we need to get crystal clear on one vision, one destination. There's one finish line that we're running towards right now. We can't run 3 races at once. And he would hear me. He would logically get it, but his behavior wasn't changing. He wasn't acting on it. And so I actually went out to Colorado and sat down. He and I went to breakfast. We went and we worked out and we hit the gym, and then we went to breakfast afterwards. And at the breakfast table, we're talking. And this time I was able to look him dead in the eyes. This is why I believe in the campfire effect. This is why I believe in power of proximity. This is why I still even though I do a lot of things virtually, I make it a point to still go to masterminds and to host my own masterminds and to get people physically in the same room together, because I looked him in the eyes and I think he could see and feel my energy and see just how serious I was about the advice. And I told him, like, Maj, based on everything you've described, based on everything I've seen you do, you need to turn everything but one thing off. And in this case, his cleaning business had already been established. It had already been making money. He already had a book of clients, and it's an opportunity vehicle that has the ability to be scaled to 7, 8, and 9 figures. So really, at the end of the day, as long as you're in a limitless vehicle that has a limitless ceiling, it doesn't matter how you earn your active income. I just know you cannot have multiple active incomes that you are an operator in and do all of them successfully. You find me the person that's done it, and I will find you someone who's lying. And so finally, I look him in the eyes and he gets it, right? It was such an interesting thing because when someone gets it, when you see them like just go silent and they reflect and you can see their brain is playing back the footage. It's running the tape. And so that day he made a promise to himself. He was like, you know what? I'm shutting it down, right? Which meant telling business partners I'm out. It meant going back and telling his team we're done. It meant shutting off things. And like they were having bits of success here and there. It wasn't like they weren't getting deals. They were getting deals. The issue was he was getting notoriety. He was getting, people were saying like, yo, you're good. Like people were building him up about it. Like he was seeing progress, but it's very minuscule compared to the dreams and the goals he said he had for his life, his family, for his future kid that was on the way. And so what's so interesting is after Maj shut it down, right? And a lot of times clarity really isn't about like, what should I do? It's what should I not be doing? After he shut it down, he messaged me within 30 days. My man produced an extra $30,000 in his cleaning business because he was finally able to allocate the most important, valuable resource he had, his attention. Having clarity, being able to seek out the clarity and remind himself regularly, day in and day out, over and over and over, this is what I'm building. This is what I'm doing. This is the important thing. I'm saying no to everything else. That is critical, first and foremost. So habit number one, the habit of seeking clarity. What's up, Zane? Good to see you here, bro. Habit number one, the habit of seeking clarity. Habit number two, right? Zane, you know this habit. It's the habit of generating energy. When I say generating energy, I'm talking about generating and cultivating energy mentally, emotionally, and physically. And what's so fascinating is I'm a people watcher. And when I observe people, I see where they believe energy comes from based on their behavior, not based on what they tell me, but based on their action. When someone is tired and they're 2 o'clock hits, 1 o'clock hits, and they're groggy, what do they typically do? They grab their third cup of coffee, their fourth Monster Energy for the day, their second Red Bull, their 5-hour energy. They go and they grab these external sources of energy because they don't understand that energy is something that's generated internally. It's not external in a can. Now, let me be the first to say, I got nothing against caffeine. I have nothing against energy drinks. In fact, I enjoy a Red Bull from here to here. Like yesterday, I drank a little bit of a Monster. Like I got nothing against caffeine, guys. In fact, when I was in Vietnam, I enjoyed a cup of coffee more than I normally do. I normally don't really drink coffee. I don't consume a ton of caffeine. But here's what I want you to realize. If you're dependent on external energy to power yourself through the day, to get yourself through every day, you show me that you are missing a critical habit, which is the habit of generating energy internally, because it takes energy to do the work of building your life. It takes energy. We've all been there when we've had to work or we had to do something and maybe we were feeling sick. Maybe we didn't sleep. How difficult is it to perform when you physically do not have the energy? It's nearly impossible. It sucks. I mean, you could still get yourself to show up, but at that point, you're just a body. You're a sack of meat in the location. You're not actually performing. Your brain, cognitively, you're not solving problems the same way. You're not finding new perspectives and new solutions. So you want to be able to generate energy. And I'm going to prove to you right now how I know energy is generated internally by giving you this little metaphor, this little example. I have a cousin, a nephew. A nephew, he's like about 11 years old. And imagine this. He lives in Florida. His name's Aiden. Imagine I go to Aiden tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. So it's Wednesday morning. And I say, hey, Aiden, wake up. Get dressed. We got to go to school early today. Guys, what do you think is going to happen? What would the response of an 11-year-old being woken up at 5 a.m., being told to get dressed so we can go to school early today? What sort of response am I getting? That kid is moaning, groaning, turning over. I can't go. My back hurts. I'm sick. I need to go back to sleep. Like the kid's not getting out of bed. So let's rewind the clock. I go back into the room, 5 a.m., same day, wake him up. Hey, Aiden, get up, get dressed. We're going to Disney today. I got the fast pass. We're riding every ride. We're getting all the snacks. I already got the car loaded. Like, let's go. What do you think's happening now? Same kid. That kid is up. He's out. He's sprinted down the stairs. He's fully dressed. He's in the car, honking on the horn, telling me to hurry up. Like, yo, Marlon, let's go. Right, uncle, let's go. What changed? Right, what changed? I didn't give him any food. I didn't give him any pills. I didn't give him any medicine. I didn't give anything else externally. The only thing I changed, and check this out. Look how we're going to come back to habit number one. All I did was I changed the clarity. I changed the vision of where we're going. I painted a different picture in his mind about where we are going. This is how you generate energy internally. If you're not I love it. Lily said motivation. If you are not excited about the life you're building, you are going to find every single day will be a drag. And I've been there. Guys, like making money, it really is. I heard Jim Rohn say this years ago. He said, making money is not a bad goal, but if it's the only goal, you're never going to make any of it. He said, because it's not a strong enough motivating factor. And I found that to be true. In my wholesale business, I had grown it and scaled it to the place where we had 15 employees. We were like just working and grinding every day, but I wasn't enjoying it. right? Like, and I had lost touch with the motivation. I lost touch with the vision. I lost touch with the why. And I was really chasing someone else's version of success, someone else's dream idea of a business. And I was waking up every day just like, maybe you could relate to that. Like, I mean, literally, those were the first sounds that came out of me. It was a sigh. And that was for weeks, if not months, of the consistently waking up. Guys, I wake up normally. Ask Caroline if you guys know Caroline. In fact, DM her, message Caroline, and say, what does Marlon sound like when he wakes up? Because I wake up and I literally will say things like, I love my life. Life is so good. Oh, I love my life. I have an amazing life. Thank you. Usually the first words that come out of my mouth are thank you, because I'm grateful to be alive. And I understand that when I'm excited about what I get to do, when I'm excited about where we're going, internally, I generate energy. Now, a part of energy generation and the habit of generating energy, it's one, having that clarity to know where you're going, but it is also, it's a physical aspect, AKA, when are we allowing ourselves to go to sleep? Like, are we getting adequate rest? That whole grind culture has been scientifically proven to not work. In fact, Zane inside here, brother, good to see you. Zane inside here literally helps people with getting to sleep. People who suffer with the inability to get asleep and stay asleep, Zane literally will teach people how to, without pills, without medicine, without drugs, be able to get themselves to holistically be able to go to sleep and stay asleep, because he understands performance increases drastically when you're sleeping. Also, the foods you're eating. How many times are you eating and your thought process intentionally? The first thought process is, how is this going to energize me versus how is this going to taste? Guys, I just got back from Asia. The food over there tasted phenomenal, but I'll tell you what, those people eat for performance less than they do for taste. In America, we eat for taste and convenience. It's crazy the difference in the quality of food. And so these are things that we pay attention to so that we can continue to generate energy daily. That's an important habit. All right, so habit 1, seeking clarity. Habit 2, it's generating energy, right? These are 2 critical habits that you need to be able to have in order to perform at a high level. These are things that I started doing that took me from being broke to doing my first $1 million year, to doing my run across America, to going out and being able to get solo certified to skydive, that allowed me to do the podcast, that allowed me to create the content. Like, guys, all the things I'm able to do is because I follow habits 1 and 2. I implemented habits 1 and 2 into my life. So what's habit 3? Habit 3, raising necessity. Habit 3 is raising necessity. This is what turns great performance from a preference to a must. Pay attention to this for a minute. The reality is, when any of us set a goal, when you want to do $1 million in business this year, you want to buy 20 properties, you want to buy 100 units, you want to start a company, a clothing brand, you want to start a YouTube channel, all of those things are cool. All of those start off as wishes. They start off as, it would be nice if that happened. If I made $1 million this year, if I made $1 billion this year, that'd be really nice. I would prefer for those things to happen. But the truth is, if it doesn't happen, you're okay. You're not going to die. And that's the issue. A lot of times, the things that you set as goals for yourself, they don't have there's no recourse in the what if it doesn't happen, right? There's no pain of loss. We all want the pleasure, but nobody wants the pain of loss. And so a result is we end up not getting it because people haven't developed the habit of raising necessity around their goals, right? It's a regular thing to remind yourself, right? We do it with the sellers. In fact, Lindsay this morning, she was doing some role play and she was saying, like, I need to get better about asking consequence questions to these homeowners that we're trying to buy properties from, because we need to remind them about the pain of inaction, of the pain of if you don't make a decision, if you don't choose to solve your problem today. Like, even guys today, the people who don't show up for this live, what I'm planning to do is I'm likely at the end of today's live, because there's a pain for not showing up, I'm only going to leave it up for like 24 hours and then I'm taking it down, right? Maybe if enough people bother me, I might bring it back up, but I want to reward the people who showed up here today, give you guys information. Because people, guys, what I'm sharing right now, these lessons, I'm not kidding you. I can show you pay stubs. Like I get paid tens of thousands of dollars to teach this to people. Individuals will pay me that much money to teach what I am now sharing with you because you took action. You showed up. You opened the email. You clicked the button. You subscribed to the YouTube channel. You cleared off your calendar. You made time to be here. I want you rewarded for that. And the people who weren't here, when they say, well, I'm going to try and get it late, no, well, you can't. You're going to understand that there is a consequence to inaction. There is a consequence to not showing up, to not being there, to not taking the proper action. So when we're looking at raising necessity, I like to share this analogy, and it's an analogy I heard years ago. This was at Adam Walker said, create our own recourse. I love that. Yep, that's it. What's up, Adam? Good to see you here, brother. So check this out. This is an analogy I heard. I heard a gentleman. He was on stage. He was speaking. I forget what conference or event it was. But from the front of the stage, he said, guys, you have to throw your wallets over the fence when you're looking to make a goal and make something happen. And I had never heard that before. Like, throw your wallet over the fence. I didn't get it. And so I talked to him about it later. And I found out when he said, throw your wallet over the fence, he said, imagine this. You and your friends, you're in the backyard. You're playing a game of kickball, a game of stickball, a game of baseball, right? You're playing some form of game in the backyard, you and all your young friends. And at some point, somebody knocks the ball over the fence. And when the ball goes over the fence, it ends up in Old Man Jim's yard. Now, Old Man Jim's got this Rottweiler, and it's like giving Sandlot vibes, right? For those of you that know the movie Sandlot, shout out to you. If you don't know that movie, you're just too young. So the dog on the other side of the fence, vicious, right? Like the fence shakes, everyone's freaking out. And you and your buddies are crowded around the fence trying to figure out who's going to get the ball. And so no one's volunteering, no one's saying I'm going to get the ball. And it's not until one of your guys who's standing right next to you reaches into your back pocket, pulls out your wallet and throws it over the fence that we all just figured out who's getting the ball. Because what just happened? What's in your wallet? Your wallet's got your money. It's got your baseball cards. It's got the notes that you and your friends pass back and forth. If you got a little honey, it's got a picture of your girlfriend, your boyfriend, right? Maybe it's got your house key inside there, right? Like back in the day when your wallet had all your stuff. Nowadays, I should rephrase. I'm going to change the analogy to throw your iPhone over the fence because nowadays our phone has all our information. But the concept is simple. In this scenario, no one wanted to get the ball until somebody had something of importance on the other side. There was a risk of loss for no longer going over the fence. The pain was painful enough that you needed to go and get, you had skin in the game. In fact, I'm going to use myself as a prime example for this. When I got into real estate, it was October of 2019. Guys, I'm not some prodigy. I wish. One of my best friends, Sam Singh, I think Sam's a prodigy. Sam is one of the smartest dudes I know. Like every time I talk to him, I feel stupid. And I love the guy. I truly, truly love Sam. Every time I talk to him, my brain hurts because he will make me see things that I should have been seeing much sooner that seem so obvious at the end of our conversation. And it's so high level, but he breaks it down so quickly, so simply on the spot. And so he's a prodigy. I'm a slow learner. And when I got into real estate investing, I was suffering with slow progress. And I signed up when I got started. Like my real estate education started with me going $25,000 into debt. Because when I got into real estate, here's where I was. Let me paint the picture. Living at home with my mom and my sister, I'm making maybe about $24,000, $25,000 a year, working 3 jobs. I have $3,000 in my bank account. That is my life savings at that point in time. I own my car, my Honda Accord, free and clear. I bought it used from my mom for $2,000. And I have 1 credit card to my name because I was a Dave Ramsey guy. I have 1 credit card with about a $3,000 limit. So my net worth, if we calculate this up, $3,000 in the bank, $3,000 on a credit card, and I own a car free and clear that maybe I could possibly resell for $2,000. I got about $8,000 to my name, net worth. That's after liquidating everything. And so then I go to this 3-day real estate workshop where at the end of it, there's an upsell in the back of the room to buy a 12-month real estate program for $25,000. And guess what? I bought that program, guys. It was scary as hell. The biggest purchase I ever made by far. I mean, my college tuition when I went to community college. We paid $2,000 for community college, right? Not these 20, 30, $40,000 Ivy League schools. No. So this is now officially the biggest purchase I have ever made. And to get the money to buy it, because I don't even have the money, I had to spend all my savings. I had to max out my credit card. In fact, I called my credit card company that night and asked them to increase the limit so I can max out that higher limit. I borrowed money from my mom, my dad, my uncle, and my girlfriend. So I got scrappy to get into this deal, to get into the education. And then it's not a lifetime program, it was a 12-month program. And so you know how it is, though. Once you buy the solution and you get the blueprint, because they sold me the blueprint, they gave me everything from A to Z, nuts to bolts, how to do it. So of course, like the next day, I'm rolling in the dough. I'm calling people, I'm closing deals, right? Like boom, another assignment, another assignment, another assignment. No, that's not what happened. What happened was every day I was showing up, calling for hours and hours and hours, door knocking, sending mail, writing letters, doing the work, and nothing. Nothing, no results, no positive feedback, none of that. In fact, guys, this was October 2019 when I paid for this program. 2020, what happened? The world shut down, pandemic, global pandemic. I live in New York at that time. New York shut down in a major way. People weren't even leaving their homes to go to the grocery store. Grocery stores were literally, if people did show up, would only let like a few people in at a time. Like it was crazy. So let alone no one's walking outside. People aren't selling their homes. So I'm facing triple, quadruple rejection. And it's just beating me up every single day. And I never had a sales job. I never had to face rejection day in and day out and had people tell me no and people cuss me out on the phone and tell me go get a real job and all of that stuff. I mean, guys, it hurt. It really, I wasn't built for this sort of stuff. And so I thought about quitting basically every single day. I mean, literally, like, I remember thinking, am I an idiot? Did I get scammed? Did I let these people steal my money? Oh my gosh, I'm not cut out for this. You name it, I thought it. Like my inner self-talk was awful back then. And here's the funny thing. Even though I thought about quitting, and there were times, you want to know, all right, we're getting personal tonight. This is how close I got to quitting. This is how close. I can't believe I'm telling this. I'd be on, I use the app called PropStream. Most of you know what that is. Some of you know Deal Surge. Some of you know whatever other software is out there. They're all relatively the same. I'm on PropStream. I'm like comping properties, and like half of my screen is PropStream. The other half of my screen, it was Indeed. Indeed is the website you go to when you're looking for a job. Because in my mind, I'm a total idiot. I got scammed out of $25,000. I'm trying to do this stupid real estate thing that like it's never going to work, at least not for me. And I'm just sitting there like a second away from clicking the button to send my resume in because I need to go get a real job. I need to go do something to make money. And every time like I would get close to finally clicking that button, I would see this picture in my mind. I would imagine a scenario where I'm sitting and it's, a year later and I'm at Thanksgiving. And my uncle comes over and we're at the table and he's asking me about how's everything going and how's the real estate going. And I say, hey, uncle, it didn't really work out, man. It's like I tried, but I don't really think real estate's for me. And when I would like look at him, the look he would give me, like, what do you mean you tried and real estate isn't for you? Like I recall you promising me that you were going to make this work. That's why I gave you money to get into this program, to go and invest in this, that you said you were going to do whatever was necessary. And to me, guys, the reality of having to have that conversation was more painful than the discomfort of being rejected on the phone, being told no, being told to kick rocks. And so as a result, right? And guys, like I had a bill to pay now. Like this was the first time I went into debt. Like if I didn't pay those bills, if I didn't pay that money back, I'm still on the hook for that. That's real. Like my credit card is racking up interest. My family is expecting me to perform. My girlfriend is expecting me to perform. People put their trust and faith in me. And like I don't want to lose that trust, that rapport, that faith that they have because I've always followed through in the past. I didn't want to lose it. That's my name. That's my brand. That's my reputation. And so I didn't quit and I kept showing up. And I kept trying new things and I kept iterating. And my FIO muscle started to kick in. My figure it out. Write that down. FIO. Figure it out. Your figure it out muscle will turn on when you get to that point of being fully committed, but not before. Your FIO does not turn on before you fully commit. And so I say all this because you have to develop that habit of raising the necessity of putting skin in the game. I'm grateful looking back at it. I'm grateful I spent $25,000 that I did not have into real estate, because I don't think I would have committed any other way. This is why, to be honest, some of you consume some of the highest level quality content out there. You listen to my stuff, you listen to Pace's stuff, you listen to Alex Hormozy, right? Like, you've listened to their free stuff on YouTube, which is dropping game, $30,000, $20,000, $40,000 worth of game, but then you still haven't executed on it. And you're like, wow, I've been listening to it for years, because you have no skin in the game. What's the pain if you don't follow through and do? There's nothing. It's the difference between a person who says, yeah, I'm going to start working out, and the person who hires a trainer. When you set a goal, it's important that, yes, you already know the pleasure, the carrot you're running toward. In fact, Lindsay, you said this morning, and it was so good. I wrote a note because, Lindsay, it was so freaking good. Let me find the note I wrote from Lindsay. Yeah, Lindsay, I take notes on you. Lindsay is straight gangster. Lindsay said, I'm going back into my paper, she said, dangle the gain and chase it with the pain. Shout out to Lindsay on that one. Dangle the gain. So you dangle the carrot in front of yourself and you chase with the pain. You make sure that there's a fire behind you so you have a reason to get up and run. So I could literally do an entire masterclass on this one habit, this one trait, because all of human decision-making comes from two emotions, right? Two emotions. Comes from pleasure and pain. Pain and pleasure. That's it. We'll get into that on another day because we've got more to cover and I got to keep us going here. I got to keep us on track, right, Sean? Sean said, I wrote that down too. It was so freaking good. So good. Lindsay is straight gangster when it comes to some of these lines. The one-liners that come out of her, gangster. All right, let's keep going here. We went through habit number one. Habit number one is, and guys, write this down. In fact, put it in the comments so I know you're paying attention. Habit one is the habit of seeking clarity. Habit two, generating energy. Habit three, raising necessity. Habit four, increasing productivity. Increasing productivity. Think of this as the ability to get more done with the same amount of time, energy, and effort. Because we can all acknowledge that there seem to be some people out there in the world who are able to get way more done in the same amount of time, right? In 24 hours, we all have the same 24 hours. We're all confined to the exact same 24 hours, no matter how you cut it, no matter what time zone you're in. It's always the same right now for everybody on planet Earth. And so how is it that some people seem to be able to get more done in their 24 hours than the rest of us, right? Like, if you guys know my friend Pace, it's safe to say, like, when you look at Pace, it's like, how does the dude do so much in a day, right? Like, yesterday he was out golfing and like he's running an event today and like they're probably buying a new property. Like, how does a person like that get more done? Today, like I'm buying a new house this week. I'm able to create the content. I'm able to reach out to the people, follow. Like, how do we do this? Well, it's simple. It's not by having a to-do list. I'll tell you that. It's not having a to-do list. Real quick, let's pause. Guys, if you're on Instagram, I love you. Come over to the YouTube channel. Stop being knuckleheads. Click the link in my bio. Go to my Instagram page bio. Click there and come over to the YouTube channel. YouTube is where it's at, because I get to see, like, in the YouTube, I get to see Adam Walker. I get to see Gerald. I get to see you guys commenting over here. So I love, like, Lily is out here crushing it. So I like when you guys come up here. So the first habit she has is seeking clarity. Habit number 4, right? It's that increasing productivity. And check this out. When I talk about increasing productivity, I just mentioned it's not a to-do list. In fact, Gerald, I'm going to highlight Gerald for a second. Gerald, could you do me a favor? Can you comment on the YouTube? I want you to write habit number 4, or just put number 4, increasing productivity, because I want to talk about Gerald for a minute. Because shout out to Gerald. Gerald's one of my clients right now. He's someone I enjoy working with because he was nervous about coming and working and doing coaching with me. And he said to me, like, it was, our conversation. I remember our conversation like it was yesterday, Gerald. Gerald asked me, he said straight up, he's like, man, listen, I just quit my job. I've already invested a ton of money into my real estate business, right? Like we're running our marketing on credit cards. So like we need to be able to produce. And I know I need support. I know I need the help. And I'm aware of that, right? Like I want to go and get mentorship and get guidance. And I feel like you can help. But he asked me a very serious question. He said, if I make this investment, because Gerald paid me a lot of money. He said, if I make this investment, do you believe it's the best thing for me to do right now in the season I'm in with what's going on with the debt I already have with the money? And I didn't look him in the eyes. I think we were on a phone call. Actually, we weren't even on a Zoom. We were on a phone call. But I said, Gerald, I have a question for you. I know that what I teach, I know that what I provide, I know that what I give works because it's already worked for me and it's already worked for others. Here's what I don't know, because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if you're going to do the work. I don't know if you're going to put forth the effort. Because I could bring all the resources, I could bring all the tools, I could bring everything to the party. I just need you to bring the effort. If you bring the effort, I will bring everything else. And Gerald, I don't know if you remember that conversation, because I remember that conversation. And quite frankly, this is a conversation I have with most of the people I choose to work with. Right. And Gerald literally just said, yep, that's how it went. Right. And so I asked Gerald to bring the effort. And guys, Gerald committed. Gerald brought the effort because he asked me, he said, do you have students that haven't performed? And I said, I have had some students that haven't performed. And he said, why was that? I said, because of what you just said. They didn't perform. My best students, though, my best clients, what did they do? When I told them to do something, they did it. No matter how uncomfortable, no matter how scary it was, they got it done, and they consistently got it done. They didn't just do it once. They did it over and over and over again until we got to where we needed to be. So the reason I'm talking about increasing productivity, and I wanted Gerald on the screen, I wanted his name up there, is because when I talked to Gerald, I talked about this concept of one of the fundamental things we do is we don't make to-do list, we make a priority list every single day. Every single day. And typically, the time I have my guys do this, because it's when I do it, is not the day of, but it's the day before. See, today, right? Today's Tuesday. Tuesday for me started last night, Monday night. Because what did I do Monday night? Monday night, I sat down with this notebook, I opened it up, and I wrote down I wrote at the top of the page, what is my overarching goal? And then beneath it, I wrote, what is the most important thing that I can focus on today that will move me closest to that goal? What is the most important task for me to put my energy, my time, my attention on? What's the number one? And I did this exercise 3 times. So I have one task, second task, and third task. But here's the interesting thing. So I give myself 3 major tasks every single day. Here's the thing though. When the day starts, do you know what I do? Gerald does this as well. We only work on the first task first. And we will do the first task until completion, until we can no longer do it. And we are forced off that task, either due to some sort of time or resource constraint, or the job is just done. And that's it. Like we come back and we prioritize, because if it's the most important thing to do, then guess what? It means everything else is a distraction. Everything else, by comparison, is a distraction. So why don't more people prioritize? Why don't most people sit down and prioritize and say, what's the most important thing to do? Well, look at how it all comes back full circle to number 1, clarity. You can't prioritize if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish. If you're not clear on your goal, it's impossible to prioritize. See, when Gerald started to get crystal clear on the goal, and he started to get crystal clear on, okay, this is the business I'm building. This is the life I'm building. This is why I'm building it. This is the time frame in which I want to build it. When he started to get clear on that, and we started to revisit that answer over and over, he started to realize, okay, well, based on this being what I want to do, ultimately, this is the skill I need to acquire. And then because this is the skill I need to acquire, that means this is the task I need to do regularly to refine and create this skill internally. And so he started to develop this priority list. And what was so funny is a few weeks or a few months into him doing this, he reached out to me. We booked a one-on-one, And he said, yo, is it normal that every day, for the most part, my first 2 tasks have been the exact same thing every day for the last few months? I said, yeah, because you're working on the most important thing now. And just recently, shout out to Gerald. Gerald wrapped up and locked up his first $50,000 deal, closed, like not under contract, like closed. It's a done deal, 50K assignment. And what was so cool about that is, and shout out to Gerald on that one, like seriously, because you worked your ass off to make that happen. You showed up every single day to make that happen. You became the man you needed for your business and for your family and for your wife and for your daughter to make that happen. So shout out to you. And what was so cool is when you ask Gerald, hey, Gerald, what did it take to make that happen? He'll tell you, well, first off, every single day. He said, I pulled this out, right? I hooked him up with a timer. I sent this over to him. He pulled out the timer and he said, well, every day you taught that we were supposed to have our focus hours, our deep work, right? During that time, during deep work, these headphones go in, the door locks, no one's allowed to talk to me. My wife can't come inside there. Like I am in deep work time. And during that deep work, he said, Marlon, I realized that the most important thing that would guarantee that my business failed, right? We did some inverse thinking. My business would fail if I didn't follow up, right? If I didn't follow up with the leads. Like we're already producing leads. We're already at that point where we got a VA cold call and we're generating leads. But if I don't follow up with these people, my business will fall apart. So every day during my deep work time, all I focus on is to follow up. I just follow up with our hottest leads. I follow up, I follow up, I follow up. I'm a follow-up maniac. And so fast forward to us asking Gerald, like, Gerald, what did it take to get that deal done? Gerald said, brother, and I forget the exact number. So guys, if I'm off by a few, whatever, 1,200 calls. He's like 1,200 calls, 1,200 phone calls, picking up the phone, picking up the phone, picking up the phone, 1,200. And what's so cool is when you ask Gerald too, like next time you guys talk to him, ask him, like if he's on Zoom, you'll see him turn his head. And what he's doing is he's looking at the whiteboard. I have a whiteboard in my room. He looks at the whiteboard and from there, he's like, that's where I was keeping track. I was tracking my progress. And I said, Gerald, the 1,200 calls, I mean, that's amazing. How long did that take you? Did you do it in an afternoon? Did you do it in a weekend? Right? Because obviously it's quick, right? Like you figured out 1,200 is the number you need to hit and you went and did that in a single day. He said, Marlon, 4 months. 4 months of going after my priority, tackling that number one priority every single day. 4 months. How many of you would feel comfortable working your butt off for 4 months to get to your goal? What if it took you a little bit longer? What if it happened a little bit sooner? One of the coolest things, and this is what I love about Gerald, is when he understood his clarity, he understood what it was he wanted to accomplish. When he understood this is the task I need to work on, Gerald stopped looking at the clock as when do I start and stop? And he started playing to the whistle, AKA I'll stop when I cross the finish line. So if it didn't happen today, I'll show up tomorrow. And he stopped being in a rush. He moved with a sense of urgency, but he stopped being in a rush. This is what productivity looks like. It looks like being able to identify the highest leverage activity in your day and then being able to focus on it solely, because if it's the most important thing, everything else is a distraction. If you come to me and you say, Marlon, I have 5 things that are the most important thing. What I'm going to tell you is you don't know what you're trying to accomplish. You don't have clarity. Because if you have 5 things that are the most important, you're explaining to me that you either A, have conflicting goals, and one day your goal is trying to send you east, and the next day your goal is trying to send you west. So you have conflicting goals, or check this out, or you don't know how to say no to things. You don't know how to differentiate between what is more or less important. Either way, those are problems. And if you have that problem, we need to have a conversation, because you will stay stuck. You will stay stuck until you can figure out how to properly utilize leverage. Okay, that's habit number 4. We got to get through 2 more habits, and I got to let you guys go. And here's the reality, guys. We're at 6 o'clock. I mean, I should just wrap it up. Guys, should I wrap it up? I know there's 2 more habits, but we're out of time. Should I wrap it up or should I keep going? Let me know in the chat. Should we keep going? We got 27 people live on YouTube right now. We got 3 people live on Instagram. All right, should I wrap it up or keep going? Is this valuable? If you're getting value, first off, 2 things. If you're new to the YouTube channel, make sure you turn the subscribe button on. I see some new names on here. Adam Walker, this is your first time being here. Good to see you. Brian Ice, good to see you. Steven Hernandez says, no. Ishmael says, keep going. All right, Brian says, valuable. Adam says, let's get it. Lily says, no, don't look at the time. Look, yo, Lily just hit me with my own stuff. That's so good. Lily said, don't look at the time, look at the finish line. She said, play to the whistle, blah. I like that. That's funny, Lily. That is so good. Jason says, keep going. Okay, so there we go. You know what? Lindsay says, please don't stop. Lindsay, guys, if Lindsay ever asks for anything, whatever Lindsay asks for, she gets. Shout out to Lindsay. I still need to respond to your text message, Lindsay. That was you are awesome. I got like one of the coolest text messages from Lindsay today. So if you're new to the channel, just make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure when you hit the subscribe button, click the little arrow next to it and turn on the bell notification. That way, when I go live every Tuesday, God willing, as long as I'm not traveling and I'm not in the middle of the air or doing something. But people tell me all the time, like, I forgot. Like the people that don't forget are the ones who put it on their calendar or who have the push notification on. So turn the bell notification on. All right, let's keep going here. That's funny. Let's keep going here. So let's review. Quick review. Repetition is the mother of mastery. This is why I repeat myself. Habit number 1, the habit of seeking clarity. Habit number 2, the habit of generating energy. Habit number 3, raising necessity. Habit number 4, increasing productivity. Habit number 5, generating influence. So when I talk about influence, understand your goals are going to require you to become more influential. And it should be a goal. And I say should, right? Like should, it's an opinion. It should be a goal for every one of us to become more influential. As a salesperson, your ability to influence is your ability to get a sale done. But forget business. What about as a parent? You're trying to influence whether you believe it or not. If you have kids and you're wanting them to believe that it's a good thing to be a good, positive person, to do the right thing, to help others, to give more value than you take, you're trying to sell them on the idea that it's beneficial for them to be a good person. That's influence. You're trying to influence them. You're trying to affect their behavior. You're trying to guide and steer their behavior. That's what influence is. So we should all aim to be more influential for, yes, our business, yes, so that we can make more money, but also so that we can support and serve our community, so that we can support and serve our family. And quite frankly, so we can start to get things in our life that we desire, right? Like I'd rather have people like me and want to give me things than for people to not like me and feel like they're forced to give me things. And so when you're looking at influence, let's talk about what influence is, because a lot of people think influence is really a game of linguistics. It's a game of learning proper sales and learning sales techniques and different closes. And that stuff is helpful. I'm not going to say it's not. I've spent a lot of time learning sales. I practice sales, learning how to communicate, neuro-linguistic programming. All of that stuff is helpful. However, that's actually not what creates its influence. That's not what creates it. It amplifies influence, but it doesn't create influence. What creates influence? What creates influence? Think about this for a minute. I'm going to share with you what my high performance coach shared with me years ago, and I thought it was wow. She asked me a question. She said, Marlon, do you want to become more influential? And I said, yes. Almost more than anything, because I grew up listening to the Tony Robbins, the Eric Thomases. Like, these people influenced me. They got me from being like a depressed, moody little boy to being more confident, being more courageous, and et cetera, et cetera. She said, if you want to be influential, do you know how? And I said, of course I know how, because I'm a boy. I think I know all the answers to everything anytime you ask me, right? It's just the way my little man brain works. I'm convinced I'm the smartest thing on planet Earth until you present me with information that I didn't know. And then now that I know the new information, now I have all of man's knowledge and I know everything. So I never think I don't know things. Now I do. Now I know I'm stupid. I'm dumb enough to know I don't know it all, or smart enough to know I don't know it all. So She says, Marlon, do you know how to become more influential? And I said, yes, I do. She said, okay, explain to me. I said, well, what you do first is you start creating social media content. You go and you make a YouTube channel, you make an Instagram, you get a Facebook, you start posting content, 1 to 3 times per day. You make sure the hashtags are there so that the algorithm picks you up. You make sure you have a good hook so people stay engaged, right? And I start talking through this whole influencer model. And she looks at me and she politely lets me say everything. And then she tells me I'm dead wrong. You're wrong. No. Nice answer, but what you describing, Marlon, she said, I asked you, how do you create influence? You explained to me how to spread influence, right? Going and having social media. You explained to me the vehicle for spreading influence, but I asked you, how do you create influence? How do you become more influential? And at that point, I realized there is a difference, and I don't know what it is. And she said these words to me, and they stuck. She said, you become more influential when you become the person who takes his own advice. When she said that to me, I had no words. Just like I kind of felt in that moment. Because I instantly started to reflect like many of you are doing right now. And you're thinking to yourself, damn, how many times have I told someone to do something that I myself am not doing? And even though I'm giving them the right advice, they're not listening. Why won't they listen? Well, how many of us take fitness advice from the overweight person? How many of you listen to your doctor when he says to stop smoking cigarettes and then lights up a cigarette in front of you? All right, imagine this scenario for a second. You go for a run tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. It's your day off. You got a whole free day ahead of you. So you're leisurely running through the park. And as you leisurely run through, you see a homeless man sleeping on a park bench. And he flags you down and you figure, you know what, it's bright enough. There's other people around. I'm safe. So you stop a healthy distance from him and you engage with him. And he starts talking to you. And you're letting him talk and you're letting him talk. And he rambles on for a few minutes. And finally, he catches himself and he says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've just been rambling. No one ever stops and actually talks to me. And this is the nicest thing anyone's ever done to me. Like, it's been years since anyone's actually even acknowledged that I'm here. People just walk by me. They don't even look. It's like I don't exist. And because you've been so kind to me, I want to be kind to you. Can I share with you a secret? Okay. Later today, before 3 o'clock, you need to buy XYZ stocks because the company, there's going to be a major merger. That stock price, it's going to go through the roof. I'm talking a 50x, right? But you need to do it before 3 p.m. Out of curiosity, how many of you are stopping what you're doing, pulling out your phone right there on the spot, opening up your Robinhood app, opening up your Charles Schwab account, and you're buying any of that stock? How many of you right then and there are doing it? If you are, you're crazy. You're insane. Right? Who's taking their financial advice from the homeless man sleeping on the park bench? So let's say you continue your day and you find yourself later that morning, 9 o'clock, in a Starbucks and you're grabbing a cup of coffee. And it starts to get real windy and real rainy. And suddenly the door flings open while you're standing online and a man walks in and the man's a little bit of in a rush. And he says, excuse me, is it okay if I just get ahead of you in line? I got to get to an important meeting. We've got to go. Would that be okay? And you say, it's my day off. No worries. I got nowhere to be. Sure. No problem. And so they go ahead of you and they order their coffee. And so now while they're waiting for their coffee, the man turns around and you suddenly recognize the man. It's Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett says, that was really nice of you to let me go ahead of you. I mean, we're in a pretty populated city and most everybody is so busy and so important that they got somewhere to be and they would never let someone just cut ahead of them, especially someone that they don't know. Thank you. And you know what? Because you've been so nice to me, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The meeting I'm heading to right now is a pretty important meeting. I'm going to be talking with some of my other investors, and we're looking at putting our money into this company, XYZ company. There's going to be a major merger is what we hear. And so we're investing a lot into this company. And if I were you, I would just take a look at it. How many of you are now pulling out your wallet, pulling out your Charles Schwab, pulling out your cell phone, pulling out your Robinhood, and buying that stock? Guys, if it's me, I'm mortgaging the house. I'm liquidating everything. I'm getting all the cash I can. I'm liquidating credit cards. I'm borrowing, and I'm buying as much of that stock as humanly possible. What's the difference? Same advice. The same advice. Why are you acting on it now? It's simple. Same message, different messenger. Influence isn't about the message. Influence is about the messenger, who you are. When you're in alignment with the words you speak, when your actions and your words match, there's a weightiness, there's a vibrational strength, this invisible energy that comes associated with your words. That's what influence actually is. It's funny, as a coach, people pay me to give them advice, to sit down, to hear what they're going through, to be able to give them guidance, to support them in achieving their goals and accomplishments. And there are times, guys, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm not coming up with things that they've never heard of that are so novel that humans have never heard of this before. So when they come to me and they'll ask for advice, sometimes I'll be in the middle of giving it to them, and they'll say, "Wait, no, Marlon, I already heard that before. Someone already told me." I said, "Humor me and let me tell it to you one more time." And I'll tell it to them. And then they'll go and they'll come back a few days later and say, "You will never believe it." I'm like, "What? It worked." "Well, I believe that. Why wouldn't I believe that?" They said, "But I've heard it before. Other people have told me. Why did it work with you?" Well, I don't know who the other people were, but it's simple. I know what I told you is either A, what I've already done, or B, what I'm currently doing. There's a weightiness, there's an alignment to the words. It's Warren Buffett giving you the advice versus the homeless man. If you want to influence other people, you first need to take your own advice. That's what's going to give you the ability to connect. That's what's going to give you the ability to influence. Final habit. And I will say, again, I love that. Lovely Sherry on IG says, "Keep going." I love that. If you guys are getting value from this, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Instagram, I want you over on the YouTube channel. I like having you guys on the YouTube channel so much more. The reason being is when you're on YouTube, there's a reason why I ask you to do things. When you're on YouTube, one, you're able to engage with more people because this is where more people come and hang out. So there's more comments going on, more connections happening in the side chat. Also, the algorithm. YouTube's algorithm is much better about finding lookalike audience. And so if you're getting value, what will happen is YouTube will see, "Oh, you know what? Sherry on YouTube is getting a lot of value. She's hanging out, she's staying, she's engaging. Let me find other people who look like Sherry and let me tell them about this podcast. Let me tell them about this YouTube live right now, because if Sherry's getting value from it, this other person may get value from it." It's one of the easiest ways that you can help somebody else out is by allowing the algorithm to find more people like us, right? Because I'm trying my best to be a lighthouse so that I can attract other people who are out there in the dark ocean trying to find safety on land, right? So I'm shining the light. I'm willing to speak up. I'm willing to put myself out there. I'm willing to sound like an idiot. Some of these YouTubes I've done, I've looked like a total doofus. And I'm okay with that, because as long as I'm able to serve one person, even just one person, it's worth it. So come over to the YouTube channel if you're on Instagram. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you guys have to run, because we've already gone 13 minutes over and we got one more habit to talk about. If you got to run, but you are enjoying what you're hearing and you're thinking that this is useful, you think that I can be someone that can help you in your business and you want to have a conversation with me, go into the description below and apply to come on board for coaching. Apply to talk to me. It's going to be, if you fill in the application, it is application based. My team's going to look the application over. And if it seems like you're a good fit, they will schedule me for a discovery call with you where we can have a deep dive about your situation, right? So if you think that I might be a good person to work with, if you think I'll be a good coach for you, and this isn't for everybody, right? If you're not ready to make a commitment, if you're not ready to invest in yourself, if you're not ready to do the work and have some uncomfortable conversations, this isn't ready for you. This isn't the right season for you. But if you're in that place where you feel like, hey, I've been stuck for too long. I've been doing the same thing. You're like me at the beginning, where you're just living in Groundhog's Day, doing the same thing over and over and over, and time is passing, but results aren't changing. It's time for us to have a conversation. Let's talk about habit number 6. Habit number 6 is the habit of increased courage. It's demonstrating courage, because good leaders, great leaders, we have an above average willingness to make courageous moves, to make the bold moves. What's so interesting is everything I just described, right? The clarity, the generating energy, the raising necessity, the productivity, the influence, all of those things are awesome. But if you're too scared to start acting on them, if you're too scared to put yourself out there, none of those things can serve you. In fact, where did I give me my notebook back? What's so funny is, like, I was just talking with one of my students, Mario. Mario's out of Miami. Shout out to Mario, like super, super good guy. When Mario and I started working together, Mario he was a realtor, and he's a physical therapist, and he would drive around all around Miami, going and doing house visits, physical therapy. He worked as a realtor, working on getting listings, very traditional. And he wanted to start investing, so he had jumped into an investment program. He'd learned about real estate, but he still was having a hard time executing on the work, right? Because remember, we said your self-identity is directly connected to your results, and his self-identity was still tied up and tagged up in his old life. And so when we started talking about ultimately what he needed in order for him to produce results in his business, one of the things was he had to get comfortable with OPM, using other people's money, using private money, going out and borrowing hard money, right? He had to get comfortable with leveraging debt. And that was something that was so against his upbringing, so against who he was, right? Like, he's a hard worker. He's a guy that saves up his cash. He's a guy that provides for his family, that takes care of his mom and his dad, that takes care of his wife. Like, that's who he is fundamentally as a person. And so what ended up happening is he had to make this courageous decision to get into debt so that he could do his first flip. And it was scary, right? Because you're putting your name on the line. You're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars to take on this first flip. And we talked through it, and we recognized how, like, hey, what is courage? Right? Like, guys, like, you guys tell me, what is courage? Courage isn't about not being afraid. Everyone thinks like the most courageous people in the world aren't afraid. You see the firefighters. In fact, I had a friend who was a firefighter, and he said one of the craziest things is, as a firefighter, you don't know who you're working with until there's an actual issue, until there's fire. Because he said, when you show up to the scene and the home is on fire, the apartment's on fire, and there are still people inside, don't get it twisted. None of us want to go into that building. Nobody actually wants to run into a burning building. And he said there are times where firefighters will not run into a burning building. And that's when you find out who you're working with. And they think they would. They talk about one day they will do it, like but then the opportunity presents itself, and they feel that same sense of fear that we all feel. And they respond to it by freezing. He says, but the real firefighters, the heroes, they're courageous. They feel that sense of fear, and they run into the building anyway, knowing damn well that there's a chance that they do not come back out. See, they're fully aware of the risk. They're fully aware of the potential for loss, fully aware. And they will still move forward anyway. That's what courage is. So sometimes I'll hear people, it's funny, Sam Singh's best friend. And he says, it's funny because I'm super positive. I'm known as a very positive person. And he said, yo, Marlon, I don't think people realize how much of a realist you are, though. Because when Sam and I talk about stuff and we're having a conversation about what will work and what won't work, for someone listening on the outside, I can almost sound pessimistic because I will list objectively, hey, these are all the reasons why that's going to fail. This is why, because I'm a realist. I'm aware of the risk. I'm aware of the mistakes, of the failures, all of that stuff. However, I need to be, because I can't make a true decision to move forward, a committed decision, an informed decision, unless I also know what is the potential downside. Because if I'm aware of the downside, then I choose to play the game anyway. I'm okay with the potential of losing, which grants me the opportunity to win. If you are not okay with the potential that you may lose, you don't get the chance to win. So many people are trying to play a game where there is no risk. Guys, no risk, no reward. I'll be the first to tell you that. And let's be honest. Well, let's take this into a deeper story. And we're going to come back to Mario here in a second. But the game that you're playing is bigger than business. It's bigger than results. It's bigger than a dream house. It's bigger than money. It's bigger than generational wealth. The game you're playing is the game of life. And let me tell you how the game of life ends. At some point, be it 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 years into the future, because technology gets better, you will die. I will die. All of us will die. That's not a sad thing. That's a beautiful thing. The fact that there's a finish line, the fact that there's an end gives the in-between meaning. And so when you do die, what happens is at your turn to go to the next stage, you will have to cash in all the chips, and you will take all of your chips and you will push them to the center of the table. You do not keep any of the things that you've gathered along the way. The business you build, the house, like everything that you own right now, like everything you will ever own. When you're dead, it will belong to somebody else. Your kids, your grandkids, strangers who buy it, it doesn't matter. So stop acting like you get to keep it and take it with you. Courage is knowing that there's a potential I may lose it, and I still am willing to move forward and do the thing anyway. Courage is there's a chance that I say this and we have this conversation and I put out the offer or I put out the request and you deny me, but I still have to say it anyway. Courage is much less about the result and way more about taking the action. Because now, if I'm able to create a person, right? If we become more courageous and I turn you into a more courageous individual, because each day I challenge you to look at your life, to look at your day and look for the thing that scares you the most. And I encourage you to go and do that thing. And you do that every single day for a year, 365 days. You're talking about having 365 experiences of overcoming your fear, overcoming your obstacle. Everyone in the world already knows how to be courageous. Most people have a courageous act, a handful of times a year, 5, maybe 10 times a year. Like their boss finally pisses them off enough that they say something, that they speak up. The girl finally, like they see her enough times that they finally ask her out. Like eventually they have that courageous spark. So the average person is having 10 of these moments. You're having 365 of these moments, right? You're literally talking about doing this 36 times more. You're having 36x more results. And so Mario, he did this. Mario did this. He went and he raised the money. He got into his first flip. He figured things out. He worked through it. And then he did his second flip. We were just catching up today. And he told me, he was like, yeah, man, I got that second flip sold. Right. And now we're working on a third. He's like, I'm in a third project and I'm working on getting a fourth and a fifth project. And he said, what's crazy is you remember how scared I was to borrow money? He said, I'm over that now. I'm not afraid anymore because why? I moved forward despite the fear in the past. And now I'm on the other side of it. And that no longer scares me. And new things scare me, new challenges. He's like, but that don't scare me anymore. And that's what happens when we start to be courageous. The things that used to scare us no longer scare us. So, guys, these are our 6 habits. These are things that you need to be implementing. These are the 6 things that when you look at any person of noteworthy success, they have this in common. You name one person and you tell me how they don't have these 6 habits, I'll pay you. If you bring that person to me, you show me, hey, this person has created noteworthy, holistic success. They're making money. They're good people. They're liked. Their family takes care of them. They're loved. You show me that person and they're not following these, I'll pay you money. I'll give you $100. Bring me the name of that person. This is things that you can work on yourself. If you need help working on these things and you need some support, you need some accountability, that's literally what I do as a coach. My job is to support and to provide accountability. And the analogy I use is when I was young, my mom used to My mom used to, on like a Saturday night, she would call. I'd be downstairs watching TV, like Saturday evening cartoons, and she would call from upstairs, and she would say, like, she would yell down the staircase, like, Marlon, go brush your teeth. And I'll say, yeah, mom, I'm gonna go do it. Hour goes by, I haven't moved an inch. And my mom would call, hey, did you brush your teeth? Time for bed. Yeah, I did it already. Come here and let me smell your breath. Right? Like we all remember that feeling of like, oh crap, I'm about to get found out. And I would go upstairs, she would smell my breath, right? Caribbean parents, you could think about what she did when she got upset. But she would, after that, she'd march me over to the bathroom, stand over my shoulder, and watch me brush my teeth. And she did this as I was a child. She did this as I was learning. And what's so interesting is this morning I woke up. My mom doesn't live with me. She's back in New York. And I went and I brushed my teeth this morning. And last night before I went to bed, after I ate, I brushed my teeth. And my mom was nowhere to be found. Why? Because she helped me enforce and reinforce the behavior to the point where she no longer has to stand over my shoulder. When I work with people, when I coach, that's my job. I am there to stand over your shoulder until I am no longer necessary. So if you think that sort of support would be helpful, right? Because it's not information. Like, guys, information is free. Go get your information in books. Go find it on YouTube. Like, sure, I put the information together in a concise manner and I put it in the right order. That's one thing. But the information, we're past the point of needing to pay for information these days. Information is out there. It can be found on YouTube. It can be found in ChatGPT. Support, to me, that's the most valuable thing. That's where, when I'm investing and I'm going out and paying for masterminds and I'm buying coaches for myself, I'm paying for support and I'm paying for a community. I'm finding people I want to be like, that I want to be friends with. Those are the things I pay for. So if that's you, go into the description below and go in, click on the application link. It's the first link there. Or if you're on Instagram, just DM me the word coach and it's going to send you that application. But on that note, guys, what did I tell you? Was it valuable? Do I owe anybody? Do I need to Venmo anybody $20 for having been here? Because I said, if this was a waste of your time, if you did not get value from me, I would Venmo you $20. So if I wasted your time at all for being here today, do me a favor, just DM me on Instagram, say, hey, you owe me $20. I got nothing from this, and just send me your Venmo link. I'll send you $20. Right? Everybody else, you enjoy the rest of the evening. Oh my God, Adam, I love that. Adam says courage is knowing the risk but taking the action anyway. Lindsay, you are incredible. Thank you so much for being here. I can't believe, Lindsay, you're amazing. You hear me talk every day. You hear me on the Daily Dials in the morning. The fact that you still show up is a testament to how dedicated you are to bettering yourself and working. And me and Caroline, we talk about you all the time. Like, Lindsay, we are super, super proud of you. So everybody, enjoy the night. I appreciate you all for being here. And I look forward to hopefully serving many of you in the future.